next we will hear from Gari Sadhwani, who is the Deputy Executive Director of Organizing, Membership, and Campaigns at Amnesty International, USA. And if you could talk a little bit about how CEDAW can help us bridge the domestic and international human rights work and help overcome the tendency in the U.S. to see human rights violations as something that just happens abroad and not here in the U.S.
I'm actually going to use your mic because
Okay.
I think it's stronger. Either that or you just speak louder. I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm not going to stand because I have really messy handwriting and I wouldn't be able to read my notes from far away. But I will speak loudly so you all can hear me. I just want to thank the ACLU and all of the other partners here for doing the tremendous amount of work that I know has involved many, many years in helping push for CEDAW. And we're excited to be a part of the coalition of groups that are working to promote it here. You know, I think Charlotte sort of said it best, which is that, you know, when it comes to human rights, America has this exceptionalism framework where, you know, it's good for us to promote human rights, not just women's rights, but, you know, this is also true, I think, around civil and political rights, but we sort of turn the other way here in the U.S. because we're somehow supposed to be different. And with CEDAW, I think this has had a huge impact on the ability for the U.S. to effectively lobby for and support women's rights, not just here at home, but internationally. I think, you know, countries do point to the fact that we have not yet ratified CEDAW as a strong symbol, if not sort of a telltale, about where the U.S.'s own commitments are with regard to women's rights. And so I think it impacts us in many ways. You know, and it's not just around a particular set of rights. I mean, I think, you know, as you all know, and as we've heard here before, CEDAW has such wide implications around economic rights, around healthcare rights, around the rights around gender violence, and it has almost in every way the capacity to help improve women's lives in a holistic way. And so that is one thing I think is very unique about CEDAW, and I think we should use that as a way in which we lobby our own government to make sure that it in fact does ratify it. An example that I wanted to give very specifically was around maternal health. And I'm thinking about this because Amnesty is about to launch a report here in the U.S. around maternal health at the end of this month. And it's a part of a global campaign that we've done looking into the issue of maternal health and maternal mortality very specifically. And I think many of you all know here that maternal mortality is one of these sort of hidden secrets of the world that isn't really all that much of a secret, right? 500,000 women die every single year during or giving birth to a child. And, you know, it just seems, it is wrong to give up your life or to have your life be at risk simply by becoming a mother. Because it's not that we don't know what it takes to stop women from dying. It's because we lack the political will and the resources that we can put into making sure that women don't die. And in the U.S., the rate is astonishingly high as well. 3 to 4 women die every single day. 3 to 4 women will have died today just giving birth to a child. And for a country that spends more on healthcare than any other country in the world, for a country that spends more on maternal health than any other portion of healthcare, it's really unacceptable for this to be the case. And if the U.S. had or does ratify CEDAW, CEDAW contains within its framework what we would call the basic tenets around which we could prevent issues like maternal mortality being a reality here. It provides really specific guidelines around what women's health, particularly women's maternal health and children's health, should be guaranteed around, because it recognizes special sort of groups of people that need special attention. You know, the maternal mortality issue is an interesting. Hello? In September, I was in Sierra Leone where we launched a similar report, because Sierra Leone, as many of you may know, actually has the highest rate of maternal mortality in the world. 1 in 8 women there die when they give birth. It's astonishing. You know, you walk through villages, and when people are going into the hospital or are about to give birth, a family from all over comes to say goodbye, because the likelihood of that woman not returning is very high. And so Sierra Leone, as a result of them actually having ratified CEDAW, is actually using the CEDAW ratification by its own government to actually proactively campaign for better maternal health. And it's actually working. So in some ways, maybe I don't need this. Yeah, I do. So it's not just an abstract political concept. In countries like Sierra Leone, and as Karen has defined here, it's very much a practical tool that is used by women, but also women's advocates and human rights advocates to really make sure that their government or the international community is living up to standards around which really protect the women's rights holistically. Lastly, I wanted to say that what the U.S. does and does not do does in fact impact the world. So the U.S. ratifying CEDAW is really, whether we like it or not, unlike any other country ratifying or not ratifying a convention, right? Because the U.S. has, whether we like it or not, special power, but also as a special responsibility that comes with that power. And it will make a tremendous difference in the lives of women, not just here, and women's rights advocates here, but actually women's rights advocates all over the world, because it gives them that extra leverage, knowing that the U.S. in its foreign policy is also supportive of fundamental women's rights. And I wanted to at last make a pitch for what you can do, because I'm an organizer. I hate it when people talk about stuff and say, well, what can you do? I have 3 things that you guys can help us do. So, within our work within Amnesty, we're asking for 3 things, right? And you can help us do these 3 things. We're asking that you call your senators and you make sure that they place statements on the congressional record supporting women's rights and calling for the ratification of CEDAW. It's really important that we reach out to them and ask them for what their positions are, and for them to make those positions clear on and make statements regarding them. The second is that we really want to put pressure on the U.S. Senate as a whole to ratify CEDAW. I think, as many people have said, and as I wholeheartedly agree with, this is a very unique opportunity, and we're looking and I look at my sister here from the administration, we're looking towards the administration for some real leadership on this, because it's been 30 years, and I think many of us who grew up not fighting for the ERA, but studying it, and really feeling saddened and ashamed that our country wasn't able to pass something like this. This is, in fact, sort of the global level of that. And we do have a unique responsibility and I would say obligation to make sure that it happens within this administration. And then lastly, that we ask the Obama administration to use CEDAW and to really use it as a framework for protecting women's rights internationally. So it uses it within its foreign policy framework. So those are 3 things that we think you all can do as people living in the United States to make sure that the U.S. does the right thing. I think that's it. So, thank you.